Hi, this is Roger in Finland. Yes, this is 2020, and today we're gonna take a look at the GoPro Hero Session, which Casey Neistat just said that it's too small. He might be right. Alright, and for the impatient ones, this voice is just a normal flow. How do I know? Because 2 days ago I got a really long stick up my nose. I feel that my frontal lobe was gently, or not so gently, tickled, and the result said that I don't have the thing that I was afraid that we might have. So, just a normal flu, and now I could go and maybe present myself into a casting for Bonnie M, lead singer. Anyway, is this little camera worth in 2020? Not really. This is a 5-year-old Full HD, 60p if you really push it, little action camera with no screen. You have no way of framing anything unless you use an external app in your phone, which I cannot get to work in 2020. It's not stabilized and the sensor is super tiny. But it's so cute, it's so small, and it's so fun that if you have one lying around, why not use it? And now for those of you that want some more details. This is the GoPro Hero 4 Session, and this was actually GoPro's first waterproof camera without needing of an external housing. This came before the GoPro Hero 5, which was the first of their, let's say, normal line of action cameras that was fully waterproof without the need of a case. That was a novelty, and that was a good reason at that point of time to get this little guy, which was actually cheaper anyway than the GoPro 4 or the 5 when it came out. So this was the beauty of it. They released the second version, the GoPro Hero 5 Session, but that was the last of the Session lineup. As Casey said, this is too small. It lacks a lot of things, including a screen where you could actually try to frame something, at least a little bit, even for an action cam, and maybe the form factor was just a novelty and a fun thing. It's still a fun and cute device though. When it comes to being waterproof, you can dip this thing 10 meters underwater, which makes it actually a really fun device. It seems that it can withstand sand and what else. It does have just only one flap that opens, then where you can access the USB port to charge the battery and then to put the microSD card. This, because it's so small, it does not have interchangeable batteries, which means that when the battery dies, we just need to charge it again. It does last for a good 2 hours, so that's not too bad. How about the video specs of this? No 4K, no stabilization, not really slow motion. So what this can do is Full HD, so 1920 by 1080 up to 60p, so kind of slow motion-ish. It does also have 4:3 aspect ratio, so 1920 by 1440, but that goes only up to 30p, and then it goes actually down and has some other lower resolutions. I think it has like WXGA and some of those things that you gamers from the 90s might remember configuring your games so that you could play them actually. It does have a mode that you can shoot at either 100 or 120 frames per second, and that is at the fantastically huge resolution of 848 times 480 pixels. I'm saying pixels instead of p because you probably can see them actually. And how small is this? This is how tiny this is. It's really small. And it weighs just 73.7 grams, which makes it super light also. One thing that this does not have, and I believe it started to come with the GoPro Hero 5 and forward models, is any sort of stabilization, which means that this will produce shaky footage by definition. The sensor is also smaller than some of the other action cameras. It's smaller than the DJI Osmo Action, which is of course a much newer camera, but that's something to consider as well. This means that it will definitely not be good in any low light situations, but none of the action cams are they? But here is a really side-to-side comparison. The two cameras that I have are action cams, meaning the GoPro Hero Session, the 4 Session, and the DJI Osmo Action side by side. So you can see how does the rocksteady on a modern action cam stabilization works next to a definitely not stabilized thing from the past. It doesn't have a screen where you can frame or see any over replay or do anything with the video, but it does have a tiny minuscule screen just next to the record button where you can change some of the settings. It's not totally unusable, but it's a little bit wonky and clunky. Of course, there's not that much that you can do here anyway. So it allows you to change, for example, either the frame rates and the resolution of your video. It also activates the Wi-Fi, so if you can pair it with the phone. However, I did try to pair this with my Samsung S9 and I couldn't get it to work. I'm not sure if it's that this is just too old and the new apps, they don't even try to support it. Even though it was in the list of possible GoPro cameras to pair, I just couldn't get it to work. So in 2020, for me, framing is totally blind. But you know that this is really wide angle, so there you go. So the video specs are not really good at this day and age. It doesn't have stabilization. You cannot control it with the phone anymore, at least not me. You cannot frame your shot. There's plenty of other options with much more modern features. What's the point of this in 2020? The point of this is that some of you might have it lying around in a closet or in a drawer. That's what happened to me. Actually, Casey Neistat reminded to me when he was making the review of the GoPro Hero 9, mentioning that this is too small and maybe a little bit pointless. And while I think he didn't really have a point, what it made me do was take this out of the closet and put it to work for a while. For one thing is, I'm gonna say it again, it's really small and it's really cute, and it kind of looks like Hal with good lighting conditions. And that's kind of cool. Year 2020. Expected status decommissioned. Actual status active. Then you can still do things. You can still put it just in your pocket and take silly videos of your dog when being outside and walking and whatnot, and walk by and I don't mind if the dog sniffs it and tumbles it. Or I got this in a park with the kids and I was just throwing it in the air, or going it down, putting it down a slope. You can just tape it on top of a small radio controlled car. I know that this is not as cool as the toys that Casey was showing with the GoPro Hero 9, with a full blown radio controlled car. But this you can have fun with your kids. It's still a fun device. It still gives you video, and you don't care really if it gets wet and it gets tumbled and it goes on the ground. That's what it's made for. It's an action cam. Now that I just rediscovered this, after being 3 years in the closet, it's charged, it worked immediately, and I thought that I'm gonna do one of those silly let's make some coffee videos. Why? Well, I didn't care. I could just put this in the coffee pot. I didn't get it like hot, but it was just in front of it, seeing the coffee brewing. I put it inside of the jar while I was filling it with water. It is waterproof. I did also put it in the coffee machine when I was just throwing the coffee grains on it. Doesn't matter, this can take it. And this is something that you cannot do with every camera. Of course, you're not gonna use this to get like professional results, but we're not here for that, are we? The point is, if you have this lying around, if you found one for almost close to nothing, this is still a little fun device that it will still give you a full HD image that you can do fun things with it. And while it's super clear that the specs are far from spectacular, I thought that besides showing you some of the footage that I got outside where there's some light, let's see how this looks inside. Probably you're now suffering from the lack of stabilization, so maybe we should go back to a Sony that is on top of a tripod, but this is how it looks with these lights. The Sony camera is at the moment at ISO 100, so I'm hoping that the amount of light is okay enough to make this work. Because here I have absolutely no control whatsoever, so it will be automatically exposing. I cannot frame this, so I hold it fairly close to my face, on the hopes that I have some frame, because I guess that if I put it here, you can see, yeah, way too much of this room, and I'm not a fan of the looks of my face in wide angle, so sorry about that. Let's go back to the Sony, what do you say? And also, as a small test, I don't know if anyone would consider this as a vlogging camera, since the modern action cams are actually being used by that, and for good reason. But this is the audio of the T-Bone EM at 800 reviewed recently, and this is the audio coming from the Hero 4 session, just in front of my face. I really apologize for having it so close. So in a way, like, what's kind of the point of this video, of taking a look at a camera which is 5 years old? It's kind of painful to realize that how far have things come in 5 years. It's painful to realize that we have so many options in our hands, but it's painful to think that something that was released 5 years ago, today it's almost useless, or the specs are so far beyond that you don't want to use it anymore. But if you have one lying around, it's a really fun device. Would I recommend this? No. Well, I don't know. If you have one lying around, what I recommend is that dust it off and use it. It's a fine device. Why not? And probably because you're not afraid to break it, you might want to use it for some crazy things that otherwise you wouldn't do. So you might get some fun results anyway. And if you don't have one, should you buy one? There's a million other options from a lot of different brands that will have 4K resolution and stabilization and whatnot. However, if you find this for like, I don't know, 20, 30 bucks, I don't think you're gonna find a cuter and prettier and smaller action cam that can still deliver some footage. So maybe go ahead and most of all, have fun with it. This is what it's made for. Alright, I hope you found this video at least curious, and if some of you had this lying around at home and not used anymore, maybe it sparked the curiosity of taking it out of the closet and doing some fun with it, and I think that would have been then a good time used for making this video itself. So if you like the video, please click like and subscribe, and we're gonna see you soon for some more content, most likely with more modern devices, and I hope that my voice will have returned to normal, so I don't need to cast anymore for Bonnie M. Take care.